There's a lot of economic development happening in Dorchester County, and it's not slowing down. Today, I talk with Dorchester County's Economic Development Director, John Truluck, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. John Truluck, welcome to the award-winning Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. Glad to be here.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Obviously, you are the Economic Development Director for, obviously, Dorchester County.
That's right.
And let me just ask you an obvious question right now. The state of Dorchester County is.
Is wide open. We're seeing a lot of interest and a lot of activity, so it's a great time to be doing economic development here.
And speaking of right here, what is the economic overview that you're looking at when you look over Dorchester County?
Well, we feel like we've worked hard to get to this place, so it's an exciting time, and we feel like our future is at hand. So it's time for Dorchester County to come into its own.
And when you look at the future, what are those population projections for the county, say, 10 years from now?
Well, historically, Dorchester County has been growing about 5% year over year. So that's been going on for 20 plus years, and there's certainly no signs of that stopping. So, with what you're seeing in the residential real estate market right now, you could easily be 50% larger 10 years from now than you are today.
And you talk about obviously growth. What are those demographic trends in the county?
Well, that's one of the exciting things, in economic development, we're here to attract jobs and the investment that goes along with it. So an important part of that is making sure that you have the workforce for those jobs. So, we work, of course, trying to make sure that our citizens have the skills that those jobs need, but also the folks that are moving here are working age folks. So this isn't a retiree community or retirement community. The folks that are moving here are predominantly between that 18 to 44 years old. So they're working age folks that are looking for jobs and will take some of those jobs that we're trying to attract.
And speaking of jobs, what are those income characteristics?
Well, of course, one of the main triggers for us is looking to raise the per capita income of everybody. So we're looking for those higher paying jobs that are paying higher than the county average wage. So that puts it up in the high teens per hour. $20 an hour or better are the jobs that we're after.
And in your mind, obviously, John, what are the top three reasons people choose to live in Dorchester County?
Well, I think being a part of the Charleston Metro is certainly a part of that. A lot of people love the quality of life here. But also there's some business characteristics that make this a good place to be. Our location along the east coast of the U.S. makes it a great place to do business because you can reach a lot of markets from here easily. So all of that factors into being a place that people want to come.
And speaking of which, what are the different economic development strategies that are needed for the different parts of Dorchester County?
It's interesting that you bring that up. I've worked in a lot of places that have always had some disparity from one end to the other, but never quite as distinct as here. So the eastern part of the county, around Somerville and North Charleston, is certainly part of the metro, very suburban Charleston. While the western part of the county, St. George, Harleyville, Ridgeville is very much rural South Carolina and more comparable to some of the neighboring communities along I-95. So we've certainly seen some of that development spread west. So Ridgeville, while one time was certainly rural, is trending more suburban every day. But we're trying to focus on getting some of those jobs and the benefits that go along with it in all parts of the county. So we're starting to see that in Harleyville and Ridgeville and St. George as much as we are in Somerville and North Charleston.
And I love the grits in St. George. But what are those benefits that comes with, obviously moving towards suburban?
Well, the obvious thing with the jobs that we're trying to bring up, first is the primary salary. So if people can get higher wages and don't have to travel as far, they have more disposable income. That creates what we call the multiplier effect. So when people have more money to spend, and more time to spend it, they're spending that close to home. So then the retail establishments, the service businesses are getting more income because those folks that frequent them have more disposable income to spend. Then those folks that are working in retail also see pay bumps that allow them to spend more. So it continues to trickle down, and for every new dollar you create, it turns over 4 or 5 times in the local economy.
So, what are the economic development priorities?
Well, again, our broad priorities are to create jobs, so bring in new jobs, and also bring in capital investment. Capital investment is what creates our tax base, and that supports things like school operations. So kind of with the property tax system in South Carolina, owner-occupied homes don't necessarily bring in enough taxes to support all the services that they require. So a lot of that falls on businesses. So we have to bring in more businesses to help spread that base out to be able to support all the things we need, like schools and public safety.
Yes, indeed. And this might be a crazy question, John, but what is that level of agreement when you look at the strategies and priorities?
Not a crazy question at all. I mean, again, sometimes we're not the one setting the priority. That's the elected officials. But we're certainly in agreement here in Dorchester County with what our strategies are. We've got tremendous support from our elected leadership, and hopefully that says we're accomplishing what they want us to accomplish.
And what is that foundation for local competitiveness?
Well, the Charleston region is certainly extremely competitive. I've got a colleague that says we punch above our weight, to make a boxing analogy. So, we find ourselves competing well against much larger metros across the U.S. In internal to the region, we're very competitive with our neighbors of Berkeley and Charleston, but we also work very well together. So at some level, we're friendly competitors, but we're also collaborators. We work together on projects because we're the ones paying attention to the county lines. The employers and the employees don't really pay that much attention. So, we look at the rising tide floats all boats strategy there. So, when Berkeley wins and Charleston wins, Dorchester also wins, and conversely, when Dorchester wins, the other counties win as well.
You talk obviously about bringing in jobs. How do you develop infrastructure and facilities that enhances the county's arts, heritage, and recreation capacity?
Well, luckily for us, I mean, that doesn't fall under our purview, but there are a lot of community organizations that take on those challenges. And again, sometimes that goes back to what I mentioned earlier about increased disposable income. The more money folks have to spend, the less of that goes to the basic foundational stuff, and meaning the more they have to spend on amenities and charities and do other things. So hopefully, the more disposable income they have, the more charitable contributions they can make that support things like arts and recreation. Again, our elected leadership has done a lot to support recreation. Our citizens passed a referendum a couple of years back for parks and libraries. So those are two very foundational things that some of those projects are coming to completion now. I think within the next month or two, the first two parks funded by that are going to open. So a lot of opportunities for our citizens to take advantage of some of the great things Dorchester County has to offer.
And speaking of opportunities, where will you provide opportunities for local businesses to reduce operating costs through collaborative purchasing, learning efforts, and other means?
We do some of that now in trying to provide networking opportunities for our existing industries. The more they work together, the more they see each other, the more the opportunities for collaboration. We've also worked with the Charleston Regional Development Alliance here recently to form an automotive council. And the purpose of that is to bring these automotive suppliers together that may be serving different companies to talk about some of those things, how they can better cooperate and work with each other that may provide some of those opportunities to collaborate and do group purchasing and group recruiting. They also have a big collaborative of IT companies that are working on making this area more attractive to talent. So that one of the things that they need is a larger talent pool for the IT companies, and so the more they can sell the message of Charleston and show that there are plenty of opportunities, the more likely folks are with that kind of background to come here and take that first job.
And obviously, when you drive through Dorchester County, you see obviously the pool of talent. What is that talent that sticks out in your mind that represents Dorchester County the most?
Well, we're a lot of friendly people, and that sounds a little simplistic. But when you travel the world and when you talk to the international companies that we have here, that has made an impression on them. So Southern hospitality is a real thing. So I think that, as well as the hardworking and loyalty that people have here, both to their communities and to their families and to their employers, really makes a difference.
And how do you maintain the number of acres of farmland in the county while supporting farmers' efforts to use environmentally sustainable practices, improve energy efficiency, and obviously provide locally grown food products in Dorchester County?
Quintin, everything that we do is economic development, but we don't do everything that falls under the economic development umbrella. So, we don't deal with agriculture a great deal, even though this county's got a strong agricultural heritage. We have tried to bring in some of that next level of processing. Again, that sort of would help the farmers, provide them more markets. Plus, it would help us in that back to that jobs and capital investment. But short of that, we sort of think ourselves as complementary to some of those sectors like agriculture, and certainly not in competition with them, but don't get directly involved.
And speaking of jobs, obviously, what types of job training or education would be most helpful for the county right now?
Well, I'm certainly glad you brought that up, because workforce development has been a big focus for us. And we're looking at the region creating 30,000 new jobs in the next 5 years. So we've got to have the folks with the skill sets to meet that. What we're finding is a lot of the high-paying jobs that are coming here don't require 4-year degrees. So we're certainly pushing technical education, both 2-year and certificate programs, and even the career and technology programs in the high school level. It's amazing that you can come out of high school now with some of these focuses in career fields, making $25 or $30 an hour without going on to higher ed. So we're certainly pushing a lot of career and technology education, both at the K-12 level and the higher ed level. And we've got great partners with both school districts, Dorchester District 2 and 4, the Dorchester County Career and Technology Center, and Trident Tech. New Trident Tech campus opening here in Dorchester County next month.
Wow! And Mary Dornley's a great lady and a great leader. What type of businesses are you actually recruiting to Dorchester County?
So our focus is primarily on manufacturing and distribution related companies, and the reason for that is the wages that they pay. So that's where we can get the largest number and the highest wages, so the most bang for the buck. But we've also focused on back office and technology related jobs, and again, we think all those will drive some of the other sectors like the retail and service industry.
And you just mentioned you're focused on those particular categories, but have you been attracted to health related businesses?
Well, again, luckily, the population growth is driving a lot of the healthcare businesses here. So they're looking at head counts and growth rates. So they're coming without us intervening, and sometimes those are the best sort of projects when we don't have to get involved. So I mean, we've certainly seen Trident Health Systems with both their and Somerville Med, their facility that's here, have seen tremendous growth. So we're seeing a lot of the hospitals already in the region putting facilities out this way, which is good because as you pointed out, those are usually very very high paying jobs as well.
Yes, indeed. And what is your process actually recruiting the appropriate business prospects to Dorchester County?
I missed the first part of that, Quentin. Can you repeat that for me?
Oh, yes, sir. What is your process in actively recruiting appropriate business prospects?
Well, luckily we've got a lot of great partnerships. So we're between us and our partners, we're out there both virtually and prior to the pandemic in person, traveling the country and traveling the world, trying to talk to those businesses that may come here. So we're still doing that best we can, even though we're not physically going there anymore. But we're we employ both our own resources and consultants that help us look for companies. We've got a lot of partners that help bring those companies to us. Both the Charleston Regional Development Alliance here within the region, the State Department of Commerce, South Carolina Power Team, and a host of others that are constantly out there trying to sell South Carolina, sell the Charleston region, sell Dorchester County.
Yes, indeed. And what is the projected employment change in the county, say now and due 2024?
I think steady growth. I don't have actual numbers that looks at Dorchester County. With our job announcements, we like to think we could attract 1,000 new jobs a year just in the sectors that we work in. So that doesn't include retail or hospitality or some of those other sectors. And that's certainly been an attainable goal last year. In 2020, even with the pandemic, we were able to attract a little over 1,000 jobs, not 1,000 new jobs to Dorchester.
Wow, that's amazing. And this may not be in your purview, John, but what strong policies do you have in place to maintain environmental quality in the county?
Well, I think, that probably does raise above my pay grade a little bit, but we're certainly all attuned to that. When you live in a beautiful place with as much splendor as Mother Nature has provided us here, that makes us a special place. So we don't want to do anything to risk that. So we're certainly always conscious about the Edisto River and the Ashley River that make up a lot of those two and their headwaters make up a lot of Dorchester County. So we're certainly don't want to attract anything that could be detrimental to any of those special places we have.
And speaking of attractions, how do you go about attracting professional firms that can actually locate and work from anywhere?
That's sort of the new challenge, Quentin, and I wish I had all of that figured out. But I think I think that's some of where the magic of Charleston helps us. People are picking where they want to live, and they want nice weather, they want activities, they want good schools, they want places that they want to be. So luckily, we don't have to work very hard at that. Charleston, the region's got a great reputation of that, and Dorchester County plays its role. Somerville certainly has a great reputation. The schools have a great reputation, so the people are coming with or without jobs. So that part makes it a little easier. The region has even seen some shifts of where people are coming from post pandemic. And again, people, if I'm going to be stuck at home, I want to be someplace where I can get out, and so I'm avoiding places with snow and things like that. So it's one thing to be stuck in your house when you can go out on your screen porch or your deck and work from there, but it's another thing to physically be locked in your house because you've got 3 feet of snow on the ground.
Indeed. And where are the shifts? Where exactly are people coming to Dorchester County from?
So, historically and still to some effect, the biggest region we're seeing folks move from is within South Carolina. About 60% of the folks moving to the region are from within South Carolina.
Hmm.
And then it spreads out from there. I guess the urban legend is that they're coming from Ohio, but Ohio is probably like 12th or 14th on the list. But we have seen, a further shift post-pandemic from places, big cities like New York and Chicago that where folks are moving here. We still see some shift from within the southern states, southeastern states, more Midwest and even West Coast. I'm amazed at the amount of people that we see. I mean, sort of the folks are coming from Seattle, which makes a little bit of sense with Boeing being here. But you see folks coming from California, New Mexico, and places in the Southwest as well.
Wow. And you just touched on it. Obviously, the pandemic has changed everything. And the topic around the country, or really in the state of South Carolina, was about broadband. Where in Dorchester County do you want to expand that?
Yeah, we're actually working with a couple of providers now to figure that out. Again, I mentioned earlier, the western part of the county is much more rural than the eastern part of the county, and that's where our broadband challenges are. So again, we've got a couple of great partners, and with some of the funding that's come down from the federal government due to the pandemic, I think we're going to be able to get broadband to a large portion of the underserved areas in western Dorchester County in the near future.
Mm. And would Dorchester County ever develop a enterprise fund to grow small businesses in the county?
Quintin, I don't. The crystal ball is a little cloudy on that. Certainly a great idea, but doesn't really fall under our purview. We still have limited resources, both time and money. So I'm not a small business expert. Could it happen? Maybe. Is that a priority for our office? No, just because of the limited resources that we have and the direction that we've been given. So great idea, certainly been discussed. Could it be? Absolutely.
Yes, sir. And you obviously talked a lot about tax base during this interview, but will Dorchester County develop a more diverse tax base, less reliance on tourism and residential property taxes?
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that's one of the, as far as, we want to try to get our piece of tourism with a big tourism attraction like Charleston. It's sort of easy picking for us to get some of that. People looking to do day trips while they're here for a length of time, or they're passing through here to get to Charleston anyway. Again, there are other organizations that are focused on tourism, and so we are not, but certainly falls under the economic development heading. And I answered the tourism piece, and I lost you on the second part of the question.
Oh, no worries. And you talk about tourism. What do you see as far as trending with that in the next 5 years?
Well, I certainly think the outdoor part of tourism, outdoor related activities, is driving a lot of Dorchester County tourism. Again, I mentioned the rivers earlier. If you haven't been tubing down the Edisto, you're missing out on a low country treat. I tried that for the first time a couple of years ago, and quickly got addicted. It's a beautiful place, and what a great day to spend a summer afternoon floating in an inner tube down the Edisto. There's a lot of focus here on the Ashley River as well, with the parks that the county is doing. A lot of that is a great part of the South Carolina Blue Trail. Where you can kayak and get right down close to nature and take in some of its beauty that's kind of right here under our noses. So, a lot of the county's focus has been on increasing access to those waterways so that people can get out there and enjoy it. You don't necessarily have to have private access to get to those anymore. So I think you'll see a lot of that sort of tourism continue to grow here with the opening of these new parks and river accesses.
And let me get back to economic development. What are the top factors for investment decisions?
Well, of course, people are a big one. Companies want to go a place where they can find the people they need. Human capital is most companies' number one thing. We feel like location is a big part of that. Part of the secret to our location is the Port of Charleston. It's a big driver for manufacturing and distribution. You have to be able to get raw materials. You have to be able to ship finished goods. If you're a distribution company, you have to be able to get those products from various places in the world, and you also have to be able to get them to consumers. So being within a day's truck drive of about 60% of the U.S. population makes us a strategic place to do distribution from.
And what are those new investment prospects?
We've got five targets here in Dorchester. They're automotive companies, they're aerospace companies, they're life science companies, they're advanced logistics companies, and we are the recreational boating capital of South Carolina. We've got 4 boat builders here, so we make more pleasure boats than any county in the state. So we also have that recreational marine as one of our targets too. We've got 4 boat builders and about a dozen suppliers to those guys here, making incredible boats to get out on all the water we've got around us.
And you brought me to my next point. Well, what are those other proposed industry targets?
Yeah, that's the 5 of them. Most of them, those are pretty logical. We've had automotive companies here for years. Robert Bosch is here. They're still the second largest manufacturer by employment in the Charleston region. And we've got a host of others, as well as 2 OEMs in the region with Volvo and Daimler vans. So we expect to continue to see a lot of suppliers. Of course, aerospace with Boeing here, now the only second place in the world where wide-body jets are made. The aviation industry has certainly been hit hard by the pandemic, but I got a feeling in a few years they'll come roaring back. Life sciences is a sector where that's somewhat aspirational for us. We don't have a huge number, even though the number of companies we have continues to grow. But that's very aspirational for us, both pre-pandemic and certainly post-pandemic. We feel like that's a real opportunity for us. Of course, logistics could not be any hotter than it is right now with the opening of the new Leatherman terminal and the growth that the ports are seeing, and of course the need for people ordering products from all over the world and needing those delivered to their home. We're seeing a huge boom in logistics companies, and of course our boating industry is seeing just crazy growth during the pandemic. I guess that was people's number one escape.
Yes.
I've got a little boat fever myself, so if there wasn't a 2-year wait to get a new boat, I might be in the market for one.
Right, absolutely. And speaking of markets, let me talk to you about housing. What's the housing analysis that you're currently looking at?
We're still. I'm not the housing expert, and we don't deal with a lot of those residential developers directly. But just being an observer, that sector's still on fire. They're building houses as fast as they can, and they're selling them fast as they can. The inventory, as many houses as they're building, they're being absorbed quicker than they can build them. So our housing inventory continues to go down. All that's indicative of a very hot residential real estate market, and quite frankly, the land, the limited places that they can build houses are probably the only limiting factor that this area will see for a while.
Wow. And you talked to me obviously earlier about the strengths of the county. What exactly are the weaknesses?
Well, now, Quintin, I can't sit here and tell our weaknesses to the whole world. I wouldn't be a very good salesman if I did that. And then all my competitors would see my weak spots. I'm joking with you a little bit. Growth is somewhat of a challenge for us. I mean, growth brings about problems, but they're better than growth. Growth problems are better than death problems. So I'm glad that we've got some of those growing problems, because the other side of that coin would be we were dealing with the dying community problems. But that brings about congestion. That brings about challenges to provide services. So that how we continue to grow like we're growing is certainly a challenge that could be a weakness if we don't do it correctly.
John Truluck, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Glad to be here, Quentin. Thank you.
Thank you.